Man, people are really gonna hate me for this. Hashtag Walang Forever, which I will always refer to as hashtag Walang Forever because that's how it's marketed. There is a hashtag in the title, is directed by Dan Villegas, written by Paul Santa Ana, and stars Jenlyn Mercado and Jericho Rosales. And in hashtag Walang Forever, we're introduced to a successful rom-com screenwriter named Mia, played by Jenlyn Mercado, and her ex-boyfriend Ethan, played by Jericho Rosales. They went through a really rough breakup and there's a lot of bitterness going on, but certain events kind of caused them to try things again. So the question is posed to them and to the audience, meron bang forever? And I was looking forward to this movie because I have enjoyed Dan Villegas' last two movies, English Only Please and The Breakup Playlist, and I did enjoy watching hashtag Walang Forever. The tone is very nicely balanced, the acting is great, but the script does make some decisions that I just really did not like. Now, like pretty much all of Dan Villegas' films, this movie sounds really good and looks excellent, with the cinematography getting particularly great when some characters go to Taiwan. The production design helps keep the story from feeling generic, even if the story is essentially the same, but they do manage to find some relatively unique places in the city to serve as backdrops, which save Mia and Ethan from being stereotyped as generic rich people who normally star in rom-coms. And just a little visual detail that I found cool, I think it's cool that Mia's like post-breakup tattoos on her neck kind of serve as time markers, like you know you're in the past when she doesn't have those tattoos. And one thing to be said about the editing in this movie is that it helps a lot with the humor. There's a lot of comedic timing with the editing and just the way people look at each other, and it really does not, the humor here does not rely on dumbing down the humor, like it really is intelligent. And in terms of dialogue, you've got your hugot lines and whatnot, and that's really satisfying, but I was more impressed with the comedic writing of this movie. There are just so many chunks and scenes where it's just the writing really carries it, and I was laughing out loud. And the chemistry between Jenlyn Mercado and Jericho Rosales is so good, it's almost scary. You really believe they are a couple in love, and each of them individually avoids becoming melodramatic, and they really manage to give their emotional moments rawness and vulnerability. Also, all of the actors who play their friends are really good. This almost pulled off a Four Weddings and a Funeral kind of thing, where the friends are really just as memorable as the two main stars, especially Gerald Napoles, who plays one of their friends, who is hilarious in every single scene he's in. He's super funny. And again, I'm just constantly impressed with Dan Villegas' ability to balance tone. The way he shifts from like happy tone to a really devastating really works. It comes off very naturally, and he manages to pull off like this awkward tone in certain scenes that again really works because you're supposed to feel awkward in that scene with the characters and you really feel it. But then we get to my issues with the movie, of which I have quite a few. First of all, the first 20 minutes or so are structured in such a way where we get to see moments from Mia's and Ethan's relationship retold in Mia's movies. You know, we get to see scenes that are inspired by the relationship, but the way these scenes are inserted into the movie is super abrupt. And the thing is, we do see these scenes anyway later on in the movie, and they're used better later on. So the first 20 minutes kind of comes off as really unnecessary. And there are really just a couple of things that the script and the story here does that I just could not recover from. Like, I really didn't enjoy the turns they made, so it kind of threw me off for the rest of the movie. Number one, this is not a spoiler at all because this is like the main section of the movie, but Mia and Ethan do get together again anyway. And when it happens, it comes really out of nowhere. And again, it just makes the first 20 minutes feel really unnecessary because when they're together for this large chunk of the movie, it doesn't feel like they just broke up. You know, it doesn't feel like they're harboring any of that ill will that they supposedly had for each other. It really just kind of disappears. And they do try to explain it later on, but you know, the way they explain it, there's a sort of twist that happens in the middle of the movie that I do not think is handled well at all. It does come off as kind of like an excuse, and it's very cliche, and it kind of takes the message of the movie away from, you know, at first I thought it was going for, you know, how to kind of like forgive your ex or like, you know, retain some sort of civility with them. But when this twist was introduced, it kind of just changed everything and kind of cheapened it, in my opinion. But in the end, I do think that hashtag Walang Forever is an okay movie. I still had a lot of fun watching it, and I can see why it won Best Picture. It's definitely a crowd pleaser. It's definitely a cry fest. There are people crying everywhere when I watched it. Alright, so those are my thoughts on hashtag Walang Forever. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.